In the centre of Rome in the year 1600, a man named Giordano Bruno stood with a rope around his neck while the crowd shouted, and the church handed him to the flames. They burned him not for petty sin, but for one terrible thing. He refused to let the map of the cosmos be closed. He spoke of many worlds, of knowledge that threatened authority, and for that the guardians of orthodoxy killed him, publicly, deliberately, as a warning. Centuries later, in a quiet Egyptian desert, a farmer's shovel turned up a different kind of blaze, not of wood, but of words. Hidden codices, the Nag Hammadi texts, fell back into the light, forbidden myths and alternate creation stories that the Church had stamped heresy. These pages whispered a scandalous thesis, that the God you were taught to obey might be a jailer, that the human soul was a lamp meant to be lit, not caged. Tonight we trace those forbidden lines. We stand between a pyre and a codex. We'll read a book the Church once banned and ask a sharper question. Why would any power fear people who remember themselves? Why trap a soul if remembering undoes your rule? This is not antique gossip. It is a live diagnosis. If those burned and those hidden texts tell us anything, it is this. Knowledge awakens, authority suppresses, and where suppression occurs, chains follow. Stay with me, because what you're about to hear is precisely the kind of story that gets men burned, books buried, and entire civilizations to keep quiet. If you value your freedom, listen carefully. On the origin of the world is one of those codices, part of the Nag Hammadi Hall, rediscovered in 1945. Gnosticism narrates two realms. Above is a luminous fullness, a realm of eons, flawless presences that vibrate with plenary light. Below lies a realm of chaos and shadow where the rulers, the Archons, operate. At the centre of that lower court sits a figure with many names, most notoriously Yaldabaoth. Unlike the transcendent good, he is proud, territorial and blind. He demands exclusive fealty. I am God, there is no other. Before formed bodies exist, these texts speak of an atom of light, a spiritual human, luminous and autonomous, forging heavens of its own. When the Archons spy such a being, envy erupts. You said you were the only God they mock, and yet here walks a power that ruins our work. Power's predictable response? Manufacture an imitation. Let us make a human after our image, they declare. They craft bodies from earth and chaos, sensory prisons modelled in their likeness, intending these fashion bodies to attract the luminous ones. When a soul glimpses a body that resembles itself, the Archons expect the soul to enter, forget and serve. Enter Sophia, the feminine eon of wisdom and pity. Sophia watches the Archon's deception and refuses to be passive. She drops a single particle of light onto the waters. From that drop she fashions an androgynous Instructor, whole, self-begotten and brilliant. This Instructor, sometimes identified with Eve, is not the origin of shame. She is the midwife of remembering. She exists to whisper knowledge into the ears of the trapped, to point the soul back toward origin. Predictably, the rulers flip the script. They demonize the Instructor. They call wisdom the beast, the serpent, the Antichrist. They brand the revealer as dangerous so the masses will recoil. This inversion is not accidental. Systems that sustain themselves by ignorance turn liberators into enemies. History echoes the same pattern from Bruno to every radical who sought to teach people how to see. On the origin of the world does not stop at symbolism. It names the mechanics. The Archons cast their seed into the earth. They model bodies. They animate their system with cunning. Adam appears as a fashioned vessel, a form made to contain and distract. For a time, the body lies empty, a shell the rulers think will neutralize the luminous. But Sophia breathes, and the body stirs. A voice within declares, "I have come for the destruction of your work." The rulers misread the awakening as containment and celebrate, thinking their trap has succeeded. They do not understand that containment can become a site of resistance once the light remembers itself. This is the radical inversion at the heart of Gnosticism. Salvation is not obedience, salvation is Gnosis, the recovery of knowledge that returns the soul to its source. The liberator's function is cognitive liberation. Show the creature who it already is. The proper antidote to subjection is not penance, it is recognition. Now a vital correction, because nuance matters. Gnostic texts are allegory and provocation. They are mythic instruments meant to wake, not to burn down every altar. And the point is not to denigrate embodiment. Bodies are instruments of localized experience. They allow specificity, play, intimacy, and the dense textures of life. Think of a game without an avatar. You'd have no way to enact a story. The flesh is an avatar. It is an interface through which novelty emerges. Gnosticism's radical critique of matter is a rhetorical strategy to shock people awake. Our practical stance is different. We reclaim embodiment as canvas, not merely as prison. So why does our world feel so hellish? Because certain narratives and systems have hardened into structures of control. The mythic archons become institutions, doctrines, corporate machines, and cultural patterns that profit by keeping us small. Scarcity narratives, fear economies, and knowledge monopolies calcify into reality when we let them. But the same texts that diagnose the trap also show how to resist. By remembering, by teaching, by converting private awakening into public remaking. This is the practical turn. If the instructor's work is to reveal, then our work must be to build. Knowledge that awakens is not a private escape hatch. It is the seed of collective transformation. Imagine if those who woke did not flee upward but turned toward the clay and reshaped it, redesigning institutions, education, health and governance around conscious flourishing. Imagine a planetary civilization that treats bodies as instruments of co-creation and uses insight to craft abundance. That is Neogenesis, radical rebirth enacted in the flesh. Expect resistance. Power does not surrender quietly. The history of ideas is a history of slander. The liberator's voice will be labeled heresy, the revealer called dangerous, the teacher painted monstrous. Those reactions are the test, not of the liberator's error, but of the system's fear. Where you see slander, look for the potential of liberation. So what do you do with this knowledge? 4 direct moves. 1. Read the sources with your own mind. On the origin of the world, Secret Book of John, the Nag Hammadi texts. Let them disturb the comfortable categories you inherited. Disturbance precedes repair. 1. Refuse simple binaries. Body equals prison, spirit equals salvation is lazy thinking. The body is a tool and a crucible. Use it. 1. Turn inner awakening outward. Take insight into institutions, build systems that distribute knowledge, care and creative power. 1. Prepare for pushback. When you begin to change narratives, expect to be maligned. That's the signal you're hitting the right target. These myths were preserved, buried and burned for a reason. because remembrance is revolutionary. The texts warn that authority will always fear a people who know who they are, but that fear is not an argument for silence. It is a call to action. So lean into the disturbance. Read, remember, and then build. Make your body a laboratory of creation. Use your mind not to justify your limits, but to dissolve them. The old gods demanded obedience. The living ones demand a different act, creation. Wake, remember, create. This is the thought alchemist.